Good morning and welcome to 2026. Can you believe another year has gone by? So, hopefully, everyone had a happy and safe New Year's Eve and New Year's Day celebration. I know it was crazy out towards my house, out in the country. And my poor puppy, Scout, she had a terrible time once the fireworks and the gunshots started popping. I mean, I don't stay up as late as I used to. I don't normally see the new year in. I've had so many of them, it's not a big deal to me anymore. But the biggest thing about New Year's Day is it's my daughter's birthday. So that kind of takes precedence over that New Year thing, with the sparklers and the fireworks. But no, it was again. We my wife and I celebrated another holiday without our kids. They're all away, and you've heard me talk about them being up in Michigan, and it's kind of sad. We have a great relationship, my wife and I, and we love each other very much, but we do miss our children. So we have a plan, though. We'll talk about that sometime later. But the fireworks and the shots started right at midnight, or right shortly before midnight, and they were like artillery shells. It wasn't just fireworks. I mean, they were, and it was almost like they were hitting our house. And they started raining down, and then the gunshots. And it was like, I don't know if you could hear that, but I said gunshots. And I said, some dummies out there shooting, wasting a bunch of ammo. No telling where the bullets are flying. And she said, "Are you sure that's not someone knocking on the door?" And I said, "No, it's nobody knocking on the door." But anyway, my poor dog was shivering and, kind of crawl up all over my wife and I. And, 4th of July, she didn't have any issues, but they weren't that loud, I guess. Or they were further away, maybe. But I was asking them, are these people crazy? Are they drunk? Both? It was really frustrating. And I wonder if they realized that what goes up must come down. Now, I don't know if they were shooting their guns in the air or shooting them into the ground or what, but it's reckless. It's really, really reckless behavior. But on New Year's, we had a quiet day. Called my daughter and sang happy birthday to her. That's a tradition we do with all the kids. And took it easy all day long Thursday afternoon, early evening, we went to a friend's house for a big, thick steak. And what a way to start the new year. It was nice. I think they were New York strips, but an inch thick. I ate about 2/3 of mine and I was full. And we had black-eyed peas and a nice salad. And my wife made a pina colada cake. Those are good. But anyway, all in all, it was a good time. And again, happy birthday to my daughter, Dahlia. She's up in Michigan. She's the flight attendant. So I hope she had a great day. Who needs coffee when you have Morning Buzz with the Energy Guy? Morning Buzz with the Energy Guy is the only podcast awarded the prestigious Energy Star label. So it's been mild. It's been crazy mild. Our bills went out for Farmers Electric Cooperative anyway this past week, and probably a week ago. And there was a cold spell in it, so we are having some people call with concerns because they get their bill and open it and it's 80 degrees outside. But how soon we forget, those little short cold spells where we had to turn our electric heat on. But that caused some of our bills to be a little higher, not as high as last year, but a little higher, all in all. But with just a little short conversation, most people understand. But that's typical. We'll have a 3 weeks of cold, and the fourth, in the fourth week when billing happens, it gets up into the 80s, and everybody's like, well, it's beautiful outside, and why is my bill so high? But that 3 week cold snap is what causes bills to go up. But again, we've had very, very mild weather. The wind's been horrible, but that's usually the outcome of 75-degree day in the first week of January. It means your wind's probably blowing about 75 too. Anyway, so just a short couple of weeks, maybe 3 weeks, we'll be entering the coldest part of the winter heating season. And this can put a real strain on household budgets. I know that for a fact. My home is all electric. I do have geothermal heating and air conditioning, but yet we do use some zonal heating too. Also, in my upstairs, I've got a conventional air source heat pump and heat strips in the air handler furnace. But much like air conditioning in the summer, heating can account for up to about 75% of your energy bill during the coldest part of the winter. So January, February, about 75% of that is electric heat or gas heat, however you heat your home. But there are ways to keep those costs in check, and I'm going to go over a few of those today. It's 7 minutes after the hour. Take advantage of the heat from the sun. Open curtains on your south-facing windows during the day to allow sunlight-free heat to naturally heat your home. You close them at night to reduce chill, because windows are great places for cold air to infiltrate and for the heated air to escape. Heated air is trying to get to the cold, cold's trying to get to the heat, and therefore, if you have curtains or drapes in front of those, or blinds, and we'll get to a little more of that here in a second, it can slow that air movement down. Keep that expensive conditioned air in your home where it belongs. Cover drafty windows. Not every house out there has double pane, low E, Energy Star windows. Some homes have single pane, older windows. Maybe they're original with a house. Maybe they're 80 years old. But yet they function. So there are kits out there that are available. And they've got a clear plastic sheet that you can tape on your window on the inside around the window frame. And then you use a hair dryer, on heat. And you don't put it right up against it. You just get far enough, and it's got all the instructions in it. But you can pick these things up at your big box stores or your local hardware store, your do-it-centers. And those are normally home-owned and operated. So I would suggest you go there, try there first. But get that hair dryer far enough away, turn it on heat, and it will shrink wrap that plastic and make it taut. And it really does a nice job of keeping that conditioned warm air in your home where it belongs. And again, those kits can be found at most home improvement stores or hardware stores. Install tight-fitting drapes or blinds or both on windows. We talked about that a little bit ago. Adjust the temperature. When you're home and awake, set your thermostat as low as comfortable. I suggest 68. If you can go lower than that, it's great. Dress in layers. You have two options, folks. You can dress in layers and be slightly uncomfortable, or you can pay a high bill, whether it be electric or gas. It's up to you. The choice is yours. I'm giving you some tips that could save you a lot of money. Yeah, it takes a little thought and preparation, but put on some long underwear. My dad used to call them the long handles. Put on your long handles. Put on some wool socks. There's a number of things you can do to stay warm in your house without using your heater to do it all. Use zonal heating. We talked about that last week, or the week before. Yeah, it was a week before. I was telling my wife the other day, a space heater. Let's do a little quick math. Space heater uses 1,500 watts, right? 1,500 watts, 1.5 kW, kilowatts. So you take the wattage and divide by 1,000, and gives you kilowatts. So 1,500 divided by 1,000 is 1.5. And you run that for 2 hours. Say during a show, you're sitting there and you just put the little zonal space heater, turn it on, and the two of you, your husband and wife, or the kids, maybe they have their own, during that movie, 2 hours. So there's the time element. So 2 times 1.5 is 3. Right? 2 hours times 1.5 kW is 3 kWh. H is the hour, the time element. And that's a billing unit, 3 kWh. And our kWh charge is about 10 cents. So that'd be 3 times 10 cents, 30 cents. Not bad. Stay warm during the length of a movie, 2 hours. Start doing that. Start thinking about what your appliances use and start doing some fairly easy math. And pretty soon you'll be saving money. And you can thank the energy guy. Adjust your temperature. I kind of got away from that. When you're asleep or out of the house, turn your thermostat back to as much as 10 degrees for, say, 8 to 10 hours. And that'll save you about 10% a year on the heating portion of your bill. That's huge. A smart programmable thermostat can make it easy to set your temperature back. Now, you have to be careful if you've got one with a heat pump. I'm going to mention that right now. If you have a heat pump, maintain a moderate setting or use a programmable thermostat specifically designed for use with a heat pump, because if you go from, say you do set it back to 60 degrees, that's 8 degrees back when you go to bed for, say, 10 hours. And you just wake up and you put it at 68 degrees. So you're telling the thermostat you want it to be 68 and it's 60 in your house, or maybe it doesn't even get that low because it was maybe it's a mild overnight temperature. But say it did get down to 60 and you're telling it you want it to be 68. Well, guess what? Your emergency heat's going to kick on. For electric homes, that's 15,000 or 20,000 watts. And it may take 2 or 3 hours to get where it needs to be. Now, contrast that with a heat pump. If you're going to manually do it, you want to go 2 degrees at a time. So go to 62 and just walk away. And hopefully you're dressed in layers, and then come back. And then in 30 minutes, it's up to 62, pushed up to 64. Same thing. Another 30 minutes, you walk by, it's up to 64, go up to 66, so on and so forth. If you don't do incremental increases, it will turn on your electric strip heat, which is a big user. The heat pump's only using 5,000 watts, but your inside furnace, your emergency heat strips, are using anywhere from 15,000 to 20,000. If you got 2 units, you can double that if you got a big house. Let's see. Again, if you have a heat pump and you use a programmable thermostat specifically designed for that heat pump, it will do that for you. It'll keep just the heat pump on and not allow it to switch to the emergency heat. Because that's basically what you're saying. If you're going from 60 to 68 degrees, you're saying, this is an emergency. I want it hot in here. I want it warm, and I want it warm fast. Find and seal leaks. Seal air leaks around utility cut-throughs for pipes, plumbing penetrations. I've seen those when I've gone out for high bill concerns. And one of the first places I like to put when I'm doing a quick and dirty audit, is underneath the kitchen cabinets where the pipes enter the home. And oftentimes those holes, those penetrations, are a lot larger than the pipes themselves. So what you want to do in that case is get some of that expanding foam. And I've done this for members because I carry one of those cans around in my house, around my car, just in case. And most of the time, I'll find that is the case. So I spray that in there, it expands and really closes that up, and it's into a crawl space or an outdoor, or goes right into an exterior wall. So that's a good place to start looking for air leaks and gaps around chimneys, recessed lighting in insulated ceilings, unfinished spaces behind cupboards and closets. Add caulk and weather stripping to seal air leaks around leaky doors and windows. It is 15 minutes after the hour. I'm going to pick it up just a little bit. Maintain your heating system. Schedule a service for your heating system if you haven't done it already. Just like a car, they run better when they have been thoroughly tested and maintained. I mean, you change your oil, right? Change your air filter. Change your oil filter. Furnaces and air handlers are very much like that. Replace your filter at least once every 3 months. So I say every one to 3 months or as needed. In the springtime, when the wind's blowing a lot, when you're out in the country and there's a lot of dust in the air, you might have to change them a little more often. But during the winter months, when the wind's not blowing as much, the late winter anyway, you want to change them maybe every 2 or 3 months. Reduce heat loss from the fireplace. Keep your fireplace damper closed unless the fire is burning. Keeping a damper open is like keeping a window wide open during the winter. It allows warm, conditioned air to escape right up the chimney. Fireplaces are already not very efficient when they're burning. You lose about 75% of the heated air right up into the atmosphere, and you only gain about 25%. So they're 25% efficient or 75% inefficient. You can look at it either way. Either number is terrible, but they are nice, especially if you can find a good source of cheaper wood, and they are nice for ambiance. I'm the first to admit I love our fireplace. We burn about at least 1.5 cords, maybe 2 cords every winter. And what's nice is my bride is so sweet. She'll have me a fire burning by the time I get off work. So I can go in there and it's nice and toasty in our den. So I have her to thank for that. If you don't ever plan on using your fireplace, plug and seal the chimney flue. You can do it temporarily, just so that if you ever decide to, hey, you know what, maybe I am going to have a fire, you can reverse it. But if you want some of that ambiance, you can burn candles where the fire normally is. Just clean out all the ash and vacuum it up and put a couple of the bigger candles in there. Not only that, it'll make your house smell good. See, you get a lot of great tips from the Energy Guy. Check the seal on the fireplace flue damper and make sure it is snug as possible. If you, let's see, let me go on here. Lower your water heating cost, and you can do this by turning down the temperature of your water heater to the warm setting of 120 degrees. You'll not only save energy, but this has happened. I've read about it before, but that water, if you're not careful, could scald if it's turned up too high, a young child or the elderly. So you want to, if you have young children in your home or the elderly, you want to make sure and set that setting a little closer to 120 degrees. Flush your electric water heater once a year to purge sediment buildup in your tank. This will allow the heater to heat water more efficiently and will extend the life of your electric elements and the tank itself. True story. I did want to touch on this a little bit. We're going to move away from efficiency a little bit and talk a little about safety. It's almost 20 minutes after the hour. We have had some issues with some of our substations. Nutty people breaking into them, trying to steal copper or whatever. They're risking their lives by doing that, and it's foolish. We've also had substations used as target practice, and again, that is foolish as well. But electrical substations are an essential part of our power grid, but they can also be dangerous. High voltage electricity flows through the substation equipment, so it's important to stay clear of these areas and the fences surrounding them. Only authorized electric cooperative employees, or if you're served by an investor-owned utility like Xcel Energy or PNM or a number of others nationwide, only they should ever approach or enter the substation. Electric cooperative employees wear the proper protective equipment and are trained professionals who know how to safely work around electricity, especially high voltage electricity. If you ever see anything, I'm asking you for a favor this time. If you ever see, I want you to be a Mrs. Kravitz. Do you remember Mrs. Kravitz? She was the lady, she was the original Karen. She's the one that had her nose in everyone's business on Bewitched. But, we had a Mrs. Kravitz that lived next to us at our old home location. And at first I was bothered by it, but then I found that I appreciated it because she kept an eye on my place. And she's like a watchdog, without barking. But we called her Mrs. Kravitz, but in a friendly, endearing way. But if you ever see any suspicious activity around a substation or any other cooperative-owned equipment, or, again, those that are served by investor-owned utilities, same for you folks. Report it. Now, if you're a Farmers Electric member in Clovis or eastern New Mexico, you can call us at 575-762-4466, 575-762-4466, and report that. We would really appreciate it. Here's some things to be watching out for. Open or unlocked gates, damaged fences, visible damage to electrical equipment inside and outside the fence, unidentified people in unmarked vehicles in and around a substation. That's a biggie because all Farmers Electric vehicles are marked as such, and those contractors that we use, they also have marked vehicles, signage on their trucks, and they typically, if they're working for us, will also have an additional magnetic sign that states that they are contractors or contracted with Farmers Electric Cooperative or FEC. If you ever see smoke or fire coming from a substation, immediately call 911. You, the member, are sometimes our first line of defense. Again, call us if you see any suspicious activity. We will investigate it and make sure things are on the up and up. And I want to give you this warning. Never, ever approach an individual or individuals you might suspect of wrongdoing because they don't want to be caught and could do you harm. So please do never approach these individuals if you suspect them of anything. All right, that's 23 after the hour. We've got a few more minutes, and I want to talk about this day in history. So this day, January 3rd, born this day, J.R.R. Tolkien, 1892, English author of The Hobbit and The Lord of the Rings. He was a polyglot who invented Middle-earth languages. So polyglot, I thought, to me, I didn't know what it was. It sounded like a fish, and I knew he wasn't a fish. So I looked up polyglot, and it's a person knowing or using several languages. I would have thought linguist would have been a term, but polyglot. J.R.R. Tolkien, 1892, died in 1973. Also born this day, January 3rd, 1905, was Anna May Wong, Hollywood's first Chinese-American movie star, best known for her roles in The Toll of the Sea and Shanghai Express. And there was a picture of her, and she was just beautiful. She died very young, though. Looked like she was about 45, 46 maybe. I'm doing the math in my head. No, I'm sorry. She was 54, 55. Died in 1961. This day in history, January 3rd, 1521, Martin Luther is excommunicated by Pope Leo X. He issued a papal bull which excommunicated Martin Luther from the Catholic Church. Martin Luther, the chief catalyst of Protestantism, was a professor of biblical interpretation at the University of Wittenberg in Germany when he drew up his 95 thesis condemning the Catholic Church for its corrupt practice of selling indulgences, it's hard to say, or the forgiveness of sins. Selling the forgiveness of sins. You know, there's only one person that can buy your forgiveness, and that was through Jesus himself. And I'm guessing that was Martin Luther's position as well. He followed up the revolutionary work with his equally controversial and groundbreaking theological works, and his fiery words set off religious reforms all across Europe. Martin Luther, born this day, 1521. No, I'm sorry. He was excommunicated this day in 1521. 1861, Delaware rejects secession. On January 3rd, 1861, just 2 weeks after South Carolina became the first state to secede from the Union, the state of Delaware rejects a similar proposal. After South Carolina ratified the Ordinance of Secession on December 20th, 1860, other states considered similar proposals. Although there were some Southern sympathizers, Delaware had a Unionist governor, and the legislature was dominated by Unionists. On January 3rd, the legislature voted overwhelmingly to remain with the United States. For the Union, Delaware's decision was only a temporary respite from the parade of seceding states. Over the next several weeks, 6 states joined South Carolina in seceding. 4 more left after the South captured South Carolina's Fort Sumter in April of 1861. Now, this is a biggie. In 1959, Alaska is admitted to the Union. And, of course, it was our 50th. Okay, I thought it was the 50th state. It says the 49th and largest state. I'll have to look into that. I printed this off to be able to read it, but I always thought they were the 50th state. Anyway, on January 3rd, 1959, President Eisenhower signs a special proclamation admitting the territory of Alaska into the Union. And it says it's our 49th state, but I think it was the 50th state. Oh, you know what? Hawaii was after that. That's it. Here I am, a history major in college, graduated with a degree in history, and I couldn't remember that. So, yes, Alaska was the 49th state. Hawaii was the 50th state. But it is the largest state. The United States had purchased Alaska from the Russian government in 1867, just shortly after our American Civil War, for a cool $7.2 million. You know, $7.2 million is a lot of money in 1867. So I thought, I wonder how many acres are in Alaska. I just want, you think of buying 10 acres here in New Mexico, and you think, I don't know, that may be $20,000 out in the country to build a house, maybe $20,000 to $40,000. I'm not sure what it is for 10 acres. So I looked up how many acres were in 360. So I mean in Alaska, and it turns out there are 365 million acres in Alaska. So if my math is correct, that works out to be less than 2 cents per acre at $7.2 million purchase. Less than 2 cents per acre. And I'm thinking to myself, I wish I could find a real estate deal like that today. Wouldn't that be nice? Well, we've gotten through another podcast. Hope you enjoyed the show. Again, we're on different platforms. We're on YouTube, where we got a YouTube channel. Like us, follow us, share us. Same with Apple Podcasts. Same with Spotify Podcast. All of our shows, past shows, are on our website at fecnm.org, fecnm.org. You can find all of our podcasts there. So the show drops at 7 a.m. every Saturday morning. And there will be a link on our Facebook page, Morning Buzz with the Energy Guy. So until next week, we will see you. Have a great week.